You know, every song I play on this radio broadcast, I would hope everyone is listening to the lyrics. I don't play music for no reason. Every song I play makes a statement. That's why I pick it. That's why I choose it. That's why you'll never hear Lil Wayne on here unless I'm doing a stupid hip hop night or Nicki Minaj or just showing the foolishness of the noise that's called music today. All right? Unless I'm doing something like that, that's the only time you'll hear garbage. But when I'm really trying to extend the thinking process, expand the thought process of our people, the bright ones, I will play music like that. That is a cut from ᴅᴏ Wright. That was Stevie Wonder's first wife. He wrote that song for us called Black Maybe. And it's definitely fitting for tonight's topic, right, which is a message to the bright race, not the black race, not a message to the black man, not a message to the black woman. There's a message to those who have evolved beyond that, who have evolved beyond black and white and the whole thing, who have figured out by listening to this broadcast what a big con that is. The whole black power, black conscious thing is a big con and a scam, right? Why do I say that? Because you got people, and I'm saying, you got people who come to this thing and they're trying to find pride in being who they are. But who people telling you that you are is deceptive. They're telling you that you're black people. When I said over and over again, there's no such thing as black people. They are brown people who are being called black for no reason, no reason that has anything to do with their skin color. They're being called black people because black is the opposite of white. And they teach you in the society, because the white man was the first one to call our people black. They call our people black not because of the color of your skin, but because it's an insult on your intelligence. Because, and according to what they say, black is absent of light. Or, black, anything black is absent of light. And they denote light with being that of intelligence, the ability to see, the ability to comprehend something, to understand. So when they refer to us as black people, that's really a slant on calling our people dumb people, right? From the so-called dark continent or the black continent of Africa, meaning primitive or ignorant people. And that is far from who we are, right? They'll tell us that we African first. They'll tell us that we black first, but they'll never say that we're Nubians. They'll never say that we ancient Nubians or the ancient Egyptians or the Sumerians or the Olmecs. They'll never say that because those were bright people. You can't argue that. These were your first society builders. They got no problem calling us Africans, right? The white man has no problem calling us Africans, African American, all that. Yet we have nothing to do, or we don't even relate to those people over there. The majority of the Africans, we don't relate to those people. When we looked at societies like ancient Egypt, right? We just, or the Olmecs, or those people who were society builders, we clicked right into those people. We clicked into those people. Sisters going around naming themselves after ancient Egyptian goddesses or queen pharaohs and things like that, and they take it on Egyptian or so-called Kemetic names, right? Because they feel connected to that, to those people, those ancient people, much more than you feel connected to those Africans over there with beating on drums and living around grass huts and all this other nonsense and smearing paint all over their damn self and running around naked. We don't feel no connection with those people. We feel a connection with society builders, intelligent people, advanced thinkers. That's who we feel a connection with. The Israelites used to say something stupid. They used to say that the Africans are the Egyptians. And I said, no, they're not. I used to tell them all the time, the Africans that are in Africa, the primitive Africans that you see, they're not the Egyptians, because you can't go to the Africans and say, or make any connection. They will not connect themselves to the ancient Egyptians, right? You'll see the ancient Nubians are the people who we are the descendants of, right, who are over here in America, the people, some of the ancient Nubians, quote-unquote Kemites and all of them, some of them are still there. Blacks, a lot of them are in Egypt. So-called blacks in Egypt. They live in there. They've been living there, right? They don't talk about that. They call people, black people that live over in Egypt who look like American blacks, they classify them as white people. Right? They're classified as white people. I talked to you about a guy named µ who came over here to America. He was born in Egypt, right? µ, and he had on his passport, the government or the passport issuing people, they issued him a passport and they said, I guess anybody from that area is considered to be white. They put white on his passport, and he was trying to have it changed. Look this man up, µ. Right? So they go out of their way in the society to discount anyone who are intelligent people, to disconnect us from any connection with intelligent people or people that look like us. They'll tell us the Egyptians was East Indian. They'll tell us that they Chinese. They told us the Olmecs was Chinese, that they was Mexican. These Negroes with big noses, thick lips, and afros, and they Chinese. Right? So they go out of their way. These people go out of their way in the society. The powers that be go out of this society, go out of their way to discount that we come from intelligent people. Why do I bring this up now to the bright race, who I'm talking about, the people who have advanced beyond this whole black mindset? I bring this up because it is important for you to know that we come from a bloodline or a descendancy of intelligent people. We don't come from spear throwers. We don't come from hut and tent dwellers, hut dwellers, right? We don't come from people dancing around in the jungle somewhere like they would like us to believe. However, these people in these black conscious movements and these black power movements, they want to push that on our people. Black Africa, red, black, and green. They want to push that on our people. A primitive mindset. Not society builders. Not the builders of the first governments on earth that the white man followed. They don't want to push that. They don't want to tell our people that. They want to try to push it all up under the African thing, where both of those things don't mesh, right? So in doing that, is it any wonder why in this day and time you don't see any of these black movements, right? I don't care if it's the Panthers, I don't care who it is, the Moors. I don't see any of these so-called black groups pushing intelligence in our people today. Educational intelligence, or intelligent education as we refer to it in the state of Mentel. What is intelligent education? Intelligent education is technical education. You know, the things that black people avoid in college, like medicine, law, science, to become doctors, to become dentists, to become architects, to become engineers. You know, that's the thing so-called black people are encouraged to avoid, or that none of these so-called black movements push in our people. Why is that? Why is it that if you're advocating black power or the revolution, the quote-unquote so-called revolution of black people, or the freedom of black people, why wouldn't you push education first and foremost? Why wouldn't you push intelligent education, right? Now, there is ignorant education that a lot of these people tend to push. You know, here's the ignorant education: black African studies, right? Psychiatry, philosophy, liberal arts. That's the ignorant education that they push. That's the ignorant education that they push on our people. You know, the education where you can't get when you can't do nothing for yourself when you get out of school, and you end up owing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, right, for African studies, to get a PhD in African studies, right, liberal arts, so you can get a DR and a PhD, a DR in front of your name and a PhD in the back of it for nothing. Right? You can't do anything or help your people. All you can do is sit around here and write books, right? And go on lecture circuits and be a hot windbag of nonsense, talking about some statues and things that happened in the past. Yet when your people get sick, you can't help them. You can't help them. When they get sick, when they are in trouble and they need lawyers, when they need farmers and people trained to grow food. See, because if you're actually trying to build a real society, a real movement, if you're actually trying to advocate the freedom of your people, that seems like what you would advocate first. Not sitting around here talking about reparations, trying to get land, arguing over treaties. No, you would push education to your people, intelligent education, while it's here, while we are able to obtain it. Right? Our people should be flooded. Our people should be flooding the pre-med schools, the medical schools, pre-med. They should be flooding medical schools, flooding dentistry schools, flooding agriculture, engineering schools. Our people should be flooding these things, flooding these schools of higher thought, higher education. Our people should be flooding these things, these places, these institutions. They should be flooding them if you truly want freedom. Not standing around on the street corner talking about F the white man and F America and KKK. All that's a bunch of talk and rhetoric because you still living here. You're still sucking off of the tit of America. You ain't getting up and going to Africa. Right? So knock it off. All the black, red, and green talk is a pile of crap because you're not getting up and going no damn where. Because if you was, you would have did it already. You still walking around wearing a white man's name. Right? That was held over from slavery. So that denotes where your mind is. Even if you Negroes change your name to so-called, quote-unquote, African names, you're still here in America, walking around wearing the gaylés and the dashikis and all that sounds nice. But when you get sick, where you run into? You run into the white man, the same white man who you call the devil. You taking his medicines, right? This is what all the black power people do. That's where your Dr. Ben, he laying up in the hospital, right? Got to get pumped full of medication by white people. Where's all this black power people to help him? Where they at? Where they at as the doctors to take care of him? Where the nurses at? Right? But yet you want to advocate black power? What kind of black power is that? We're going to go into that in great detail more as we tear a hole in this facade of black power and why is it that our people, the black movements, the so-called black conscious, the so-called Pan-Africanists, and the so-called black power liberation movements don't push intelligent education as a way out of freedom toward our people. I am the intellectual ɪṛᴜᴜᴜ and this is State of Mental Radio, and tonight we're talking about just that. Why intelligent education is not pushed amongst our people. Why? Why would these Negroes, these holdovers from the 60s and the 70s who was talking black this and black that, why are they not even pushing intelligent education, technical things, even the smallest things down to carpentry and electrical work, things that would make you free of having to depend on people, something where you can be utilized to help your people? Why don't they advocate this? In their black power talk and they beating on drums and they Panther talk, why don't they advocate this? Where all the black, you would think with all the talk, where the black doctors at? You can go into the black neighborhoods and, take the young kids and start a medical program. It could be like an after-school thing. Start a medical program, get black doctors to participate in it so it could turn out more young black doctors. See, because, I had the sister say something to me one time. She goes, oh, well, we don't need no doctors because doctors don't cure nothing. She said, all we need is herbal medicine, herbal care. And she's right. However, if somebody gets shot, if somebody gets stabbed, if somebody goes into trauma, you need trauma physicians. You need trauma nurses. Drinking sea moss or rubbing whatever the hell you rubbing on it, whatever you trying to make out of it, moss powder, whatever the hell you making, that's not going to help a stab wound or a gunshot wound or something should happen or you have a heart attack or whatever the case may be. Yeah, herbal living and the natural medicine is good as a preventative form of medicine, but you have things that happen, traumatic incidents that happen where you need doctors to treat that. You need nurses to treat that. You need dentists to treat your teeth, right? When you got black women sitting up here and they go into these doctors, and it's a lot of these so-called sisters who was in the black power thing. They run to these white doctors, and these sisters got breast cancer. A lot of these sisters got to get their breast cut off. They go and get their breast cut off. You understand? They got to go and get their breast cut off. Why is that? Right? Because they don't advocate their daughters, right? They don't advocate their daughters. They don't advocate their sons being the next doctors, being the next lawyers, where you black women, y'all can have your daughters sitting up there examining your breasts, right? Ma, you okay? Or your son or whatever, your grandson. See, more push needed to be more push into education. That way we would have produced a bright race of people, an intelligent race of people, not somebody that keeps feeding off of this black and white thing. Because the true people who want freedom, they start with education first and foremost. You can't sit here and tell me, oh, our babies are being miseducated, right? But then you still sending your babies to their schools, right? You can't tell me that. You can't tell me, oh, the medicine and these people, they putting this in the medicine, that in the medicine, and the white man, this and the white man, but then you run into his doctors when you get sick. You taking their medicine, right? So you speaking out of two sides of your face. Can you imagine Jews going to a black doctor? Can you imagine Jews going to a black doctor? I'm going to say it again. Can you imagine Jews going to a black doctor? It would never happen. They got their own doctors. They got their own lawyers, their own accountants. They got all this. Why? That's why they're able to accumulate power amongst themselves, because they are about being independent. They are about being independent. They're not going to go outside their people if one of them gets sick, if one of them needs legal defense, if one of them needs dental work, if they need farm raised animals, whatever, agriculture, architecture in their homes. They don't have to go outside that. Shouldn't that be what so-called black power was supposed to be about? Shouldn't that have been it? I cram to understand why is it that people are pushing things that are not going to happen. Is the white government going to give black people land? Not likely. Not likely. Are they going to obey some treaties? Not likely. But that's what happens when you still got a slave mentality. That's what happens. You want Massa to give you something. You want him to give you something. You want him to give you something. You want him to give you land. You want him to give you money. You want him to give you reparations because you mad at what happened to the slaves and whatnot. Whatever. That's what happens. Right? You don't sit and push an initiative to send all these young black men who sitting around in the hoods, who sat around in the hoods, was selling drugs and shooting each other down. You haven't pushed an intelligent education system to them, where these young black men sitting up here making hundreds of $1,000s selling drugs in the 80s. They could have been your next businessmen. They could have been accountants. They could have been your next doctors. Right? You don't push that. Then you wonder why our people are failing. You got not even your so-called educated Negroes push this, right? Not even your so-called educated. Bill Cosby sat up there and talked about how black people, we got to start, that I'm sick and tired of what I'm seeing, and, black people got to do this, and black people got to do that. We got to get better, and, and read a book, and this, that, and the third. I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah, right, Bill Cosby, you have done nothing for the education of the people. You gave some money to some black colleges, right? You could have got a lot of these black millionaires. They have this mentality like, I got mine, you get yours mentality. That's their mentality. I remember Denzel Washington said, they got this the thing they said. And I heard Denzel Washington said, and it was so funny. He goes, yeah, I'm not giving nobody no breaks or nothing like that. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. That's what Denzel Washington said. That's those black college educated Negroes. right? There was Morehouse, Howard University Negroes. You know, they say things like that, and they got their Greek fraternities and Greek sororities where they following after the white man and his woman, right? Calling themselves Black Greeks, right? This is your educated Negroes still doing that today. Black Greeks, right? Society of homosexuals and lesbians. So you got so-called educated black people doing this. Then on the other front, you got so-called black people who are into this consciousness and power thing, yet they all constantly running behind the white man. They're constantly running behind him for education. They're running behind him, you know, and not for good education either. Because like I said, if you're going to get education from him, you could at least get the technical stuff, the stuff that our people are going to need if you really care about the evolution of our people, right? You run behind them for nonsense. You run behind them for handouts, titles, right? This is what they do. They don't run and try to take up the technical stuff, right? I put a thing on Facebook where I said, you know, Howard University, and I heard this from the brother on YouTube, Claude Anderson, I believe his name is. I forget. I think it's Claude Anderson. But he did a book coming out called Dirty Little Secrets, right? You know, Howard University. And I put this up there, and it shocked me. Howard University was started by white congressmen, right, for their mulatto children that they had with slave black women to educate their mulatto children. That's why Howard University was allowed to have a law school and a medical school. No other black college at that time was allowed or permitted to have that. Ain't that something? So the white man, what that shows you, the white man knows that there's power in learning medicine and law. He knows his power in it. He knows his power and people being able to independently take care of themselves and, you know, their medical problems and defend themselves in courts of law. Build houses, skilled professions. Not some Negro sitting around talking about some philosophy or some psychology, because, you know, that's what black people always go to school for. You know, you could knock me over with a feather if you see a black person. You'll knock me over with a feather if you see a black person in college for medicine or law, right? You'd knock me over with a feather if you could see that. You know, you're really going to see black people going to school to become doctors and lawyers and accountants and dentists. You're not going to see that. But you, like I said, you would think your so-called black power people would push that. They don't see that as maybe I'm paraphrasing. They don't. To me, they don't see that obviously as a road to freedom for our people. They don't see that. Us using our own intelligence, right? Us being educated, intelligently educated, is a road to freedom for our people, because independence would appear to be the road. That is the road. No, they want reparations. They want civil rights. They want land. They want handouts. The Black Panthers, they came about because they said they had the right to bear arms, right? And they were carrying guns, posing with the cute little leather jackets on, and black power, this and whatnot. You know, a lot of them Negroes were sleeping with white women, and the black women were sleeping with white men, and they was all laying up with each other. Everybody was caught up in that black love power thing, that black love movement. A lot of them was selling out. But the whole premise of that was they came out of the civil rights thing. So they were just basically a militant civil rights group. That was it. They felt like they wanted to find freedom and power through the system. They didn't advocate intelligent education for our people to build a real nation or a real movement, like the Nation of Islam did. You know, at least the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, people knock him. Like I said, nobody said, you know, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they formed the University of Islam to educate their children, because that's a big step in the way of freedom that you take when you step up and educate and making sure that your children are educated properly, right, by your hands. Where you're not sitting around here got somebody who don't look like you, right? Somebody that don't look like you, educating your children, right? Somebody that don't look like you, educating your children, or miseducating them, or not educating them at all, where your children are coming out of high school, can't even read, right? Can't even read, right? Can't answer any mathematical problems, can't do anything, right? That's what happens when you allow other people to educate your children. You would have thought that these movements, these black power, this movement, black power, that movement, they would have stood up to educate their children, first and foremost. There should have been independent black charter schools set up by these so-called black power and conscious movements. But no, what do you see today? And you know what? Not even in the churches. You don't even see the churches advocating it. What is everybody talking about in the so-called conscious and black power movements today? Money. Get money. Get money. Get money. That's the foundation. That's the talk of today. In the church, in the conscious movement, black power, in the Moorish thing, get money, get land, get material things. Right? Forget the wisdom. Forget the intelligence. See, money comes and goes. You can always get money, but you can't take intelligence. You can't receive intelligence, right? You can't get technical intelligence where your people don't have to go run into white doctors. Your wives and your daughters don't have to go and get their breasts cut off, right? Or get limbs amputated because these people are telling you lies in order to use you for like a damn lab rat for a scientific experiment. When meanwhile, white people and all these other people that are going to the doctor, they don't get limbs cut off. They doing all kinds of therapy for them. They rather just cut your limbs off and use your limbs and use whatever lymph node or whatever cancerous cells growing in your body. They rather cut that off and take it out and radiate it and do all kinds of experiments on it. They rather do that. They rather use you as a lab rat, right? They don't want to cure you. So when men like Dr. Sebi come along, right? And that's another thing I don't understand either. You got men like Dr. Sebi out here who are making, curing things like cancer and, even cured AIDS. Right? It's court documented in New York State that this man did that. That you have Negroes up there. I don't know about that. I don't know if he did that. You really believe that? Yeah, you got Negroes who do that. You really believe that? And listen to the trials and the tribulations of Dr. Sebi, where he talked about how all these so-called black, pro-black Negroes shot him down. How they shot him down. How they basically looked at him like he was trying to scam people, or he was trying to run some scam or hustle people. When it was documented in the New York court system when they was trying to lock him up in the 80s that he was actually curing people. But these Negroes, they don't want to hear that because they're stuck on their own agenda. They're stuck on their own program. And that program is to get something out of the white man. Get some reparations, get some under the table money, right? To keep their little movements going, right? Get some crumbs off Masa table. Don't be fooled by these black power people. They the same way. They crumb snatchers. These are Negroes that'll be out there on Saturday and Sunday talking about black power this and black power that. Then they go into their jobs on Monday through Friday for the white man. Like I said, they're your weekend warriors, right? They want to talk about all that emotionally charged nonsense about kill the white man, this, that, and the third, and get rid of the white man. And then these Negroes are sitting up there, like I said, living in white neighborhoods, sleeping with white women, dressing like the white man, right? Ain't that funny? You know what it is? It's a play. It's Jerry Springer. Black Jerry Springer. It's all done to get people excited, get people hopped up, right? Reaction, emotion. You understand? Reaction and emotion. Get people charged. they blow their minds. Sensationalism. That's all that is. Not real solutions. Sensationalism. You know? That's what these Negroes pile into these things for. They pile into they hear about you talking about the white man this and the white man that and this, that, and the third. But then, okay, after we finish talking about the white man, now what about our people? Oh, well, the white man, he got to do right by our people. He's the damn problem. The cracker is the problem. Right? From the same mouths of Negroes who would rather talk about committing crimes like picking up guns, selling drugs, talking about stuff like that as an answer to our people. Yeah, some simple-minded Negro, I'm not even going to name his name, talked about a solution to building a black power organization is to sell drugs to our people. Right? Some simple-minded Negro. And the sad thing is, you had other simple-minded Negroes sitting there listening to that. So this is a message to the bright man and the bright woman. Those of you who have advanced beyond this black nonsense, this Uncle Tom black nonsense, because that's all it really is. That's all it's always been underneath all the rhetoric, underneath all of the emotional rants and the black power fist. It was a bunch of Uncle Tom madness, a bunch of Uncle Remus garbage. You understand? That's all it was. A bunch of angry Negroes who mad because the massa white man didn't give them a piece of the pie. Right? That's all it is. They're not advocating the intelligence of our people because they don't truly believe that our people have any real intelligence. They don't believe that. Because if you believed it, you would be advocating something better for our people. You would say, you know what? This asking the white man, we ain't going to degrade ourselves and go down in the buff and be asking these white people for no reparations. We're not going to go down in the buff and ask the white man for reparations. We're not going to go down in the buff and ask him for no land. We're going to just educate our people. We're going to push education to our people. We're going to push black doctors, black lawyers, black this, or, everything you need to build a nation, because that's what you need. If you're really serious about building a nation, a movement, an anything, you're going to push technical things to your people. You should have at least 100 doctors in your clique, male and female, 100 doctors. You should have at least 50 scientists. You should have at least 100 lawyers. You should have at least 100 agricultural engineers. That's real power. People who can sustain themselves, people who can sustain themselves, right, without having to run outside of themselves. See, that's what the Jews do. They can sustain themselves. They don't need the black man. They don't need the black woman. They don't need the damn white man, the rest of everybody. They got self-supporting movements within themselves that they can, and organizations within themselves. That's why the dollar could pass around in their neighborhood, no one have to leave, right? And you be lucky if the dollar, after it go in black people's hands, ends up in another black person's hand after that. Like you're going to go buy some weed or some crack. Right? No, that dollar's going in the Chinese person's hands. It's going in the Arab person's hands. That's where it's going. Hell, these Negroes who advocate this black power thing, they don't even set up no businesses in the neighborhood. The Israelites, none of these people talking this black, nobody advocates that. They don't know setting up no businesses in the neighborhood. Nothing. You mean to tell me you can't even get your economics of your neighborhood together? Really? Or do you really want to? Do you really want to? Do you really believe what you say when you say our people are supreme and that we gods and that we the gods of the earth and that we the mightiest people? Then it would behoove you, if you really actually believe that, you would be channeling out the intelligence of your people. You would be challenging your people mentally to get off their ass and do something. To get up off their ass and do something. Go to law school, go to medical school, go out and go become scientists. Go push your children to become that. If you're gonna go into debt in college, go into debt for something worthwhile, like becoming a doctor, like becoming a dentist, like becoming a nurse, like becoming an agricultural engineer. Technical things that our people need. No, these Negroes don't really believe that their rhetoric. They don't believe their own rhetoric. Don't believe that garbage about black power. That's just talk. Because people who advocate something, people who really believe it, they're going to do that. Don't tell me, oh, well, brother, we got the potential. Potential without output don't mean a damn thing. I don't want to hear no Negroes talking about, oh, we got the potential. You got the potential to run your mouth. We know that. We know that about our people. They good at selling wolf tickets. But they don't have the potential. They don't have the want, the desire, the burning desire to get off their ass and start thinking for themselves. That thing that happened last night, where we going back and forth, that was ridiculous. That was ridiculous. That when we set up here, and that the black man we gotta sit up here and read articles, or listen to people read articles, and we can't, and black men and black women gotta sit and read when the white man says something. We have to take him as an authority because we don't want to think for ourselves. We don't want to go up and do the brain work. We don't want to ferret out the logic in what's being said. We just want to read what some white man said verbatim, and we'll just accept it because it's in the newspaper, because somebody got a DR on the front of his name and a PhD in the back of his name. We're just going to accept it. They had, when the brother told me, oh, they got instruments to see water on the sun. Hell, they had instruments back then where they said the planet was flat. They had some sort of instruments then that they determined that was the planet was flat. The white man says all kinds of things. The black man says all kind of madness. You understand? But when logic comes into play, when thinking comes into play, when you start looking at these people who are advocating this black power, you're like, where's the power at? Is there mental power? Right? Is there mental power? Is there physical power? Where's the power? The power starts first mentally, then proceeded with physical power. I'm going to take a call. It's American Gonsul. I wasn't taking a shot at you, brother, about the article, but go ahead.
Nah, it's all good. We're going to let that lie for last night. Like you said, it's bigger. And there's other subjects that, that's pertaining to our people that we got to move forward on. That's all good. That was initially between me and you. We let it lie right there. But, on the topic of what you're displaying tonight, wholeheartedly agree. And I just wanted to mention, we've never seen our people committed to anything long term. Like, everything that's in society, or what's being put out in the media, or a lot of things on the radio or internet or so forth, doesn't advocate any type of long-term commitment, i.e. rappers, sports, things in that manner. So, when people are not seeing it like broadcast in their daily lives, then they normally, don't seek for the goal of that. And then when you try to look at the alternative of some of the larceny, then you got conscious movements that are not implementing themselves. And I agree with what you said with the Nation of Islam. You know what I'm saying? And I know, we're dealing with Pops and everything. They was pushing medical things when we were down there in Georgia. But when we live, our people is under in an illusion. Like when we go out in the street, it looks like people are separated, but a lot of those people are together, and it ends up being that we're the only ones separated. And then that's the reason why you had to have a Nation of Islam or a Nuwaubian Nation, so that there can be some type of focused goals that is, that's conveyed to the adults, down to the young adults, down to the children. And when you don't have that, you just have people all over the place, and then that counterintelligence seep in with them, what you said, them boule and those house niggas, because they got an agenda to make sure that you don't create those institutions. You know what I'm saying? That's why they have a position initially so that, all right, you know, whether it's a Denzel Washington or Bill Cosby, they put in front of you so that they make sure do not tell them or advocate building anything. A lot of the brothers and sisters don't have business savvy, which they don't know how to start bank accounts or even manage people, you know, or even count money or have the integrity not to steal the money from each other once they start businesses. You know, a lot of the brothers and sisters get business, then we don't know how to advertise or market. We don't know how to make sure our people supporting what we're doing. A lot of black business, you see, they in all rundown buildings and old, decrepit. They don't know how to renovate. You know, so these are things that, you know, instead of having lectures where, you know, and book signings and stuff like that, you know, it needs to be more workshops to where, like they said, there's some hands-on carpentry there. There's some hands-on midwives there. You know what I'm saying? That people can have some type of long-term, implementation in their lives. They could say, well, you can come over here. We got something for you to do for about 2 or 3 years. You know, but until we get that, you know, it's not going to happen because the majority of the people, all they see is a rapper or they see a stripper or somebody, a female see butt naked ones. They don't see a conglomerate of black women that's successful, that's bringing them in to do anything, and vice versa with the brothers. There's no outreach programs that's on your corner or on my corner that's coming out saying, well, we got these things for you. You know, you ain't gotta sell those drugs. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to go to that club. You know, beside the club, there's no economic center. You know, we used to have little boys clubs and girls clubs and so forth in the neighborhoods because the white man stopped doing them. We never picked that back up, created them ourselves, and ran those so that we had a streamline of people that's going to care about their own people. And, you know, again, you don't see the Arabs or Chinese or anybody else doing it, you know, but our people still refuse to take that initiative because they have a lack of long-term commitment to anything, relationship, children, you know, and so forth. So, you know, I just, you know, on top of what you're saying, I just wanted to add that in, you know.
Well, here's the thing. The real thing is that, you know, black people, they, you know, we've been promoted as being people who want the fast dollar. We want everything to happen fast. That was programmed in the minds of our people going back to religion, the very first thing that gave us that artificial shot of intelligence, where we don't look at, you know, long-range building or things that take work. We want the shortcut to everything, right? That's why, you know, you'll see the black man go on the street and sell drugs because he's trying to get rich quick. Or he'll go and stick somebody up. Or the black woman will go to a club and shake her ass and be a stripper so she can get some quick money that night or whatever the case may be. They don't look at the long term of anything. They don't look at, okay, I'm going to work for something or I'm going to find something that stimulates me mentally and I'm going to work toward that. They work toward being whores and strippers and things like that or whatever they're doing to get fast money because that whole civil rights thing was initiated into our people where, you know, or you know, especially here in New York where it seems like a lot of these black girls, all you got to do is push out a baby, lay up, push out a baby, and you get taken care of. You on the system, right? So, you know, it's no need to have to be responsible because you can go and get WIC, you can go and get a welfare check, you can go and get a Section 8, you can go and get all these things, right? They'll give you initiatives when you are you mess up in this society, when you're irresponsible. They reward you in this society for being irresponsible, for being stupid. They reward you.
Right.
And what that does, that does, like I said, it keeps a mentality in the people that's low or that's meant to be in a submental form, right? To keep them constantly trying to find a fast dollar, right? And, you know, always, you know, chasing the dollar and the dream. That's why a lot of these marketing things are big with our people, these marketing scams, whether it's coffee, this organo gold thing, or whatever the hell our people get into, credit cards or some nonsense, or we got our own business. I hear black people with this. If I hear another black person with the organo gold thing, talking about they got their own business, I think I'm going to choke somebody, because I keep hearing this, and it's like it's just the same thing over and over again, the same marketing hustles and scams, right? Where our people, they feeding our people this get-rich-quick thing, and that's what they play on. It's all a mental thing. Get rich quick. I was watching The Men That Built America Saturday, right? It's a documentary that came on H2, right? And it was talking about, it was very, very good documentary. It was detailing the lives of John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt. These were all the men who built this country, like with the railroads, with steel, with oil refineries, all these things like that. And these men built this stuff up over time, right? You couldn't get a black person, the average black person, to think about or put long-term, long-range thought into anything because we've been made lazy mentally, in this society. We've been made lazy because we want handouts, because we keep pushing this whole, we're going to get some reparations, if we go and we take some tree, we're just going to get some reparations, or we're going to get some handouts, because all that translates into is a bunch of handouts. That's it.
Yeah, no doubt. And then other part, I just remember, also integrated into the psyche of our peoples, and I could start with the church, you know what I'm saying, to where there always has to be someone come out and tell them, get up, or, give an example, Martin Luther King, don't ride the bus. You know what I'm saying? Why collectively, people just couldn't decide that for themselves. See, you know what I'm saying, our people do on a continual basis have this Jesus, somebody save me, and right now, you know what I'm saying, since there's no one saying, like you just said, no one coming out and not scared to die or take the bullet, the scapegoat, and saying, look, on the bullhorn, sisters, stop stripping, they stop selling drugs, or, come over here in this institution. Our people, they do that so that we continue to have this fragmented mind, as you say, this fragmented mind, because people don't know how to mentally come together and have a group or united thought as, all right, we don't need nobody to come out the blue and tell us, not to be hoes and drug dealers and whatever. We are going to do it, and even if somebody was doing it, they're not going to get the publicity, you know what I'm saying, for the mainstream, so a lot of people see it, you know what I'm saying? So then you have a lot of people that's still sitting back that, like you said, the BS about potential, sitting there with all the potential in the world, but they won't do it unless somebody they like. And our people's got this thing, too, this immature, never grow up thing, is that they won't listen to somebody because they're intelligent or they're right. They got to listen only if they like the person, you know what I'm saying, or if the sister is cute, you know what I'm saying, or the brother is handsome, or they got to like them. It just can't be intelligent. It can't be a sound, intelligent decision for us to make collectively. It's got to be, that's a cool person, or, it's got to be someone with some Versace, or like you said the other night, with a flashy suit. Then everybody's going to run there and listen to the person. It's a psychosis. It's a bad, sick thing that, you can't have the self-initiative to get out and do it with your people together because it's right. So, I see that, I appreciate it. I fall back off for that, bro.
All right. Thank you for calling, brothers. All right. We got another call coming in, 423. 423, you on the air?
Yeah, I'm here. I heard you said that you watched a documentary that how this country was built. Did they actually go into what type of foundation it was built upon? Because if they had to have some type of solid foundation, so I'm just curious what type of foundation it was built upon.
Well, it's business.
So what?
Business.
Okay.
That was the foundation that this country was built on, business. Whether it was slavery, whether it was railroads, whatever it was, the whole foundation of this country was built on business.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that because I mean, if you think about Washington D.C., those was all symbols and pyramids and squares and circles. So that had to be the foundation. So it had to be something more than business. It had to be something deeper than just a business. Maybe unless you can break the business down to something a little deeper.
Well, you talking about how the Masons copied ancient Egypt?
Well, basically, because if you're breaking down Vanderbilts and all those type of people, they had to have some type of deeper construction or deeper foundation than just business. They had to have a foundation based on science and symbols. I mean, for this place to still be here and to be the world power, it just can't be no business unless you can break the business down to something else.
I said that the business is and the currency that floated through here was like the lifeline of the blood of this society that kept things together. But ultimately, I said those almond beings, I don't know if familiar with this language that we use in the state of Mentel, the almond beings are those advanced ones who these men follow behind, because we always say there's a higher authority that even these men follow. Some people refer to it as God. We refer to it as the omni beings, or these advanced people who had an order that even the Egyptians followed. Because, like I said, we're supposed to be following a greater order of beings, or a greater order of people who set everything in motion here before we even got here. So, yeah, those men were following these advanced people. That's why they set up a government. That's why they set up business and, things like that to create an order on the planet. And that's why it's still in effect, because any order is anything that comes into order has a lasting effect in some way, shape, or form. And like I said, our people are out of order right now. That's why we're not in power.
Right, because we have no foundation. Yeah, we have no foundation as a whole. And our foundation is not deep. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that our people have severed our foundation, and we've picked up a false foundation, right? Which is to sit up here, and we've accepted the whole African thing. We've accepted the whole that we didn't build anything or that we didn't come from anything. We really accepted that. Even the so-called people that believe that, they say, oh, we come from the ancient Egyptians and we come from the ancient Sumerians. They say it, and it's still pretty new to our people, and they don't really believe that, because if you did believe that or you did accept that wholeheartedly, then that means you would be charged with an energy to move forward and build beyond what it is that you claim you came from.
Right.
In other words,
I mean, if you really do the research and do the history, this country was basically built upon that ancient order. That's the reason why the foundation is so deep and rooted up in the sky, because they used those teachings to build this society, to build this nation. They used the ancient language. Whether they decipher into their own foolish and cross methods, they still use the ancient language to build this country. Like for this to fall, something has to come stronger. And they use the language of that order, of their, what they call it, Melchizedek order. Is that what this country is?
Melchizedek?
That's really what this society or the United States is built upon. It's built upon that ancient order. And they went to Egypt and they used those symbols and they constructed those symbols into their own language. That's why this place is still standing.
Well, no, actually, they just took something and continued it on, right? Because they were instructed, obviously, to continue it on, and they used these symbols or these signs as a way or of power symbols to move forward a new nation. They were continuing with those advanced beings who gave the power to those ancient ones, they were continuing on in the power of those people. That's why they were able to continue on with a new society, because the thing that was supposed to constantly come forward and move forward in society was the building of societies, of governments and things like that to keep order. As long as order is kept here, and when I say order, that means from setting up a governmental order to following orders, right, which they follow, which black people don't, right? They follow orders, they build order, they keep order. That's why they're still in power, because that is a continuous thing that's going forward. It's not just like the ancient Egyptians, and they were following orders as well. They built governments, they built the first governments, the first structures and whatnot, the first societies, because they were following orders to keep order on the planet, to civilizing the people on the planet by way of their government. So, like I said, America is just a continuation of that. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. 510, you're on the air. Hey, what's going on, Reg? You sound far away. You gotta talk into the phone.
Oh, let me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. Good.
All right. I just was listening to what the brother was saying, and I mean, I hear it all the time. You know, everyone. It's a lot of people that keep, going back to the ancient this, the ancient that. But I mean, my question would be, if those sciences were so great, if it was all about those sciences, then why did that great empire fall? If it's all about those symbols and all the writings, if that's what made that time period so great, then why did it fall? And again, why would we revert back to that ancient system? To me, my opinion, we have to let all of that go. This is a new day, And if you think about it, let's take the symbols. Those symbols have power. Why? Because people believed in them.
Mm-hmm.
We have to really look at this this existence right here, man. And this right here is you can make something reality just by believing in it. Let's talk about this government just for a second. This government is powerful because they got the masses to believe in it. Think of what will happen if everybody in America just stopped believing in the American governmental system. What would happen? They would lose power. They would lose power. And I mean, I hear it all the time about the ancient this, the ancient that. I'm not taking nothing away from those people because they did what they were supposed to do in that time period, their time. This is our time, And I'm just, man, I don't know, man. A lot of people are really stuck on that time period. Maybe
you know what it is. You know what it is, because see, finding out about ancient Egypt was a good thing and a bad thing for our people. Why I say it was a good thing is because it let us know that we were more than just slaves and Africans, and we was dancing around in mud huts without butt naked, running around all this like the white man told us we was. It was good. It was good for us to learn about that. But then the bad thing about it was, you know how black people do. Oh yeah, we great people, so we ain't got to do nothing to build onto that. We could just rest on the accomplishments of them people in the past, and that's what's happening now. Yeah, we was once great people, and this, that, and the third, and we gods, and we come from gods, and we gods. Yeah. But you smoking a blunt, right? And you drinking liquor, and you working for the white man, right? But you God, I got the potential, and I'm God. Yeah, we built them pyramids, and and Ashe and Black Power. It's a bunch of rhetoric.
It's romantic,
and it's dying. It's tired now. It's tired.
It is, man.
It's tired.
It really is.
It's getting tired, and it's been tired, but it's really tired now. And that's why, like I said, when we reach the end of the line, which we have, it's time for an evolution to take place. It's time for something to sprout legs. That's why I said this is a message for the bright man and the bright woman, the ones of our people who are tired of sitting on the sidelines, being embarrassed by the damn black race, whether they walking around with their pants hanging off their ass, smoking weed, being whores, the black woman being a whore, or these Negroes sitting in the conscious thing, talking that black conscious thing with Yankee baseball caps on. We sick and tired of these Negroes. We don't want to. We need to start disassociate. And we did that in the state of mental. I made sure we disassociated ourselves. See, because I always said this: in order for you to get the maximum output from a people, even if you start small, is you got to separate yourself from the people who don't want to do a damn thing. Right? You got to separate yourself from the people who don't want to do anything. Right? You have to separate yourself from them as far as like I said, how the white man he separates himself from his white trash. Right? They separate themselves from them. We don't do that amongst our people. We don't separate ourselves, the ignorant from the intelligent, the useless from the useful people. We don't do that. We want to take everybody with us. We want to take everybody with us, and then we wonder why we can't move or we can't move forward and move up, because the damn the ship is being weighed down by useless people, by people who want to sit around here and talk this black power crap, or just talk about nothing, or just be Negroes. I mean, and we can't. That's the message to the black man and so-called bright man, the bright man and the bright woman. That is, excel without the majority of our people. Like I said, cut it off and become that supreme people, right? With a new name and new thing. Like I said, set no boundaries for yourself in becoming the doctors, the new millennium doctors, because this is our time right now. The year 2000, the 21st century is supposed to be the time of the bright man and the bright woman. The bright man and the bright woman are those who are evolving out of the black race. This is our time right now where we can become those supreme people, where we don't have this black and white paradigm going on and our way that, a lot of our people keep going, or this obstacle they keep going, where y'all can be the next doctors and lawyers and whatnot, men and women, the next doctors, the next lawyers, the next architects. This should be an exciting time and period for our people right now, right? And we should be severing ourselves from that black nonsense and that white nonsense. We should be severing ourselves and becoming that bright race of people, that solar intelligent race, where intelligence will take you beyond stupidity like black and white and race and, what's going on here in this submental world. That's the message for the bright man and the bright woman, those people who have advanced beyond the black and the white.
There it is there.
There
it is there. All right. Hey, man. Hey, great show once again, man.
Thank you.
I'll speak with you soon, brother. Hey,
all right, brother.
Newman.
Yeah.
Newman.
Yeah, huh?
Hey, get my cards to me, man.
Oh, no, they going out. I sent you the message. They going out tomorrow, definitely. I was just so busy. I got it all. Yes, your cards are packaged up. They going out tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, man.
All right. Sorry for the hold up.
All right. That's all right, brother. Peace.
Peace. I want to play a little bit of music. Let me see. What do I want to play? Yeah, little Teddy Pendergrass. Blast from the past. This is for the bright race, because I'm talking to the bright race out here tonight, the intelligent ones of our people. You have to know what you're amongst in order to understand what you're dealing with, why there is no progression amongst our people, because you got a bunch of lazy Negroes that want to keep going on with this black and white thing. They want to keep going back and forth. They want to keep going in circles in a rotation with this black nonsense. They want to keep, like I said, they don't want to be free from the white man. Don't believe that. Look, we got to get free nonsense. Let's get free. Don't believe that. That's talk. They happy with the way things are, because the people who are dissatisfied, they really going to make changes. They're going to make sure change comes, if not from them, it's going to come to their babies. And they're not trying to advocate that because they're comfortable. But us in the bright race, we are not. We'll be right back. People are not intimidated by people who line up and march and demand rights. People now are not intimidated. The people who are in power, they're not intimidated by that. They're not intimidated by the people who threaten violence if they do not get said rights or land or property or whatever. See, because the people who possess the property, the land, whatever, they always have it in their mind that ultimately the people that are coming to them, protesting, demanding, asking for justice and things, they always have it in their mind that you people are coming to us and asking us for something. You're asking us. So already that puts you in a state of submission and puts these people in a state of mission, right? Because they can give you what you want. They can give you provision. They can give you. So already you become the subservient one, and they become the master again, right? Because you put them in a position by demanding, by begging, by asking. You put them in a position of power. You put them in a position of power by doing that. What they are afraid of is when you start talking about, I don't need y'all. We're going to do it ourselves. When you start talking like that, when you start saying, well, you know, I don't need you, I'm going to do it myself. That's okay. Keep your rights, keep your land, keep your sovereignty, keep all that. We're going to build something ourselves. When you start doing stuff like that, that's when you're a force to be reckoned with. When you start pooling together your money and educating your own children, when you say we don't want no more of your public education, when you start saying we got our own doctors, we're setting up our own doctors' offices, we got our own dental offices, right? When you start having the ability to do things like that, when you start working toward that, that's when you become a problem. See, people always love it when they have the ability to deny you things. They get a kick off of that. You know, that's how power works. They like the fact that you are on your knees asking, or whether you on your hands standing up talking about black power and raising your fist in the air, get these crackers because they got everything and the white man's the devil. They love it. They love it because they know they can work you up. They know they can work your emotions when they call you a nigger and you get mad and you ready to kill, you ready to fight, and you get upset. They do that just to get a rise out of you because they know it upsets you. They know it'll make you mad, right? They know it'll make you mad. See, when you're emotional, you're not thinking anymore. When you become emotional, you start reacting, right? When you become emotional, you start reacting, right? But when you are in a state of thinking all the time, you're rational. You're acting. You're not reacting anymore. You're at your highest point. You're at your supreme state. See, the black man and black woman, they're not used to thinking in this society. They're used to reacting. They're used to following that which is put out, even to the black power people. Y'all followed y'all lead from the Russian Revolution and that white Russian Revolution structure of the fist in the air and the Reds, what they used to call them, the Reds, the communist movement. They followed that. That's where your black power people came out of. They took the whole Russian Revolution, socialist, whatever they call it, and they took that, and a lot of blacks was part of that because, you know, black people, they love to be anywhere. Like, a lot of black people love to be any place white people are, socializing and, you know, whatever. They love it. So they took, some of those people took those ideas from the Socialist Party and the Russian revolutionary people, and they brought it over into the black power thing, right? Because they thought that would work for our people. But it hasn't worked because it was based on reaction. Anything that is based on reaction, meaning that you have to have a party in the first part and a party in the second part, the one who's acting, and you have to have somebody who's reacting via initiatives or programs or whatever that's pushed out, legislation that's written that is against your best interest. You start reacting. See, that wouldn't affect you if you became more of an independent people. If you actually practice some of that so-called black power that you Negroes talk about, where you stopped asking for reparations, where you stopped asking for sovereignty, when you stopped asking for these things, right? Stopped asking for handouts and started actually doing for yourself. See, black people haven't been able to mount nothing successful since the Nation of Islam on that scale of doing for self, right? We haven't been able to mask that because we have nothing to mask it behind. We have nothing to stand on it from behind. When people even ask us about the state of mental, and they trying to find out, well, where did it come from? Where are you reading this philosophy from that you started the state of mental? I said, no, this is our own intelligence. We set up a movement on our own intelligence. Do you know what these Negroes, the so-called righteous ones, the ones who saying the black man is God, oh, that's BS. You talking about intelligence and this, that, and the third. I said, oh, it's BS that we have intelligence and that we are founding a movement based on our own intelligence, but I thought the black man was God. So why couldn't the black man, so-called black man, form an organization or a movement based on intelligence and logic? It had to come from somebody, right? From the white man, right? From Islam, from somebody else other than you, but the black man's supposed to be God. See? They don't really believe that. Because if you really believed that, if you really thought that was true, then what I would be doing wouldn't be nothing, you'd be like, you should be expecting me to do this, what I'm doing in the raising of my people's intelligence, getting them to think again, bringing together a new movement that's not based in any foundation or any other organization, that's brand new, that's based in logic and common sense and the foundation of intelligence, right? Meaning to be in communication with mental senses, higher mental capability. That's what we're supposed to be advocating in this day and time. We are a race of thinkers. The state of mental, we're trying to raise a race of thinkers. No more black people, right? A race of bright people, intelligent people, a race of thinkers, men and women. That's how you become supreme people. That's how you become super mental beings, by raising a race of thinkers, stepping out of that whole black and white paradigm. Because in the black and white paradigm, the black man's always at the damn bottom, and the black woman's at the bottom. You always going to have to be in the so-called black paradigm. You always going to end up being the carbon copies of the white race, always. Running behind them for reparations, running behind them for civil rights, running behind them for medical attention, running behind them for dental attention, running behind them for jobs. You're going to always be running behind them. See, the Jews were smart enough to step out of that whole black and white thing. They were smart enough to do that and just be Jews. And they don't got to run behind nobody. They have become supreme within themselves because they ain't got that paradigm going back and forth of black and white. You understand? They don't have that paradigm going back and forth. They are Jews, and they like, this is what we advocate, this is what we doing for our people, this, that, and the third, and that's it. They don't say stupid things like, oh, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. They don't say stupid stuff like that, like Denzel Washington said. You know, they help each other. Denzel Washington, that somebody helped you. Somebody helped you, whether it was a white man who gave you a shot. Yeah, you were a good actor, but there was better actors than you. Somebody helped you. You don't get no place in this world alone. Somebody gives you a hand. Somebody who recognizes something in you gives you a hand. I don't care if they black, they white, whatever. But you earn it, right? And like I said, with our people, you look out. Our people are supposed to be looking out for each other. That's how Hollywood itself is based off of nepotism. The Jews do it all the time. They look out for their cousins, their brothers, their aunts. That's why you look at the motion picture industry full of white people. That's nepotism. They don't say things like pull yourself up by your own bootstrap. They empower, and they're going to make sure they constantly see their faces around. But Negroes the only ones, well, hope you do for yourself. I got mine, get yours. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Really? Really? Well, maybe black people should have said that when they was going to see your movies and told, well, let all them white people pull you up by your bootstraps and go see your movies. Maybe they should have said that. See? That's the nonsense our people practice. That's the nonsense that the black man and black woman practice. I got mine, get yours. You know, you don't care about each other. You don't think that y'all could come together and do nothing. But there has to be another movement. There has to be another movement that is about the evolution of our people, about the true evolution of our people. And that's the state of mental. Not about the revolution. Not about, oh, we're going to pick up something and we ready to die for this. Is it really that serious? Can you Negroes, see, listen to the black man's talk. You ready to die for it? Can you just go to school? The black man got to be all dramatic. Come on, I'm ready to die for this. Can you just go to school? We rather have a live doctor than a dead Negro. Somebody sitting around tomorrow, oh, yeah, I'm ready to die, knowing you're not going to die for nothing. You ain't ready to die for nothing. That's a bunch of talk. You trying to impress people to show how tough you are, or how strong you are. You're not impressing nobody. And this day and time, what impresses people is the fact that you have staying power to think and keep a constant thought going about the evolution of your people and doing what it takes, being an example, whether you sacrifice 8 or 9 years or 10 years of your life to become a doctor, to become a lawyer, to become whatever, a real professional, a thinking man, a thinking woman, a business person, that you can show by example what it is you become based on your sacrifice. That's the real sacrifice. Give your mind to something greater. Don't vibrate on that sub-mental level tomorrow. Yeah, I'm ready to die for this. What does that really mean? See, even that's not really no sacrifice. Talking about you ready to die for something. Yeah, bullet in the head, that is over. You know, that ain't no sacrifice. That was quick. Sacrifice is the long term, walking through this, long term, and really putting energy into raising your people. Right? That's the real sacrifice. Not trying to con them and hustle them. We got enough white con artists out here and white hustlers out here who trying to con our people on marketing schemes and scams. Right? We don't need no black hustlers trying to scam our people with real estate and all kind of other madness. You know, birth records and all kind of garbage. You know, because like I said, you got a lot of Negroes out here who trying to pull the same wool over our eyes that the white man was doing. Right? They trying to do the same hustle. They trying to do the same shuffle and dance, but they just put black power on it. Right? They catering to our sub-mental way of thinking. But as I say, those of our people who are rising in this day and time mentally, out of that whole black dynamic, out of that whole Pan-African nonsense, out of this whole black American nonsense, the ones of our people who are rising up as a bright race of people, as a people of mental, as a race of mental receivers, receiving higher mental capability, as it was meant to be, as what we came here to do, to house the light or the intelligence of that supreme race of people who built this society, who built this planet, who structured everything here that we see. We come to the point of who we are. Now it's time for an evolution to take place. Those of you who are hiding amongst the black race, come out. Those of you who are hiding amongst your little blunt smoking buddies with their pants hanging off their ass, or you hiding amongst those black women who sitting around here talking about nothing, waiting to get knocked up by the next nigga who ain't talking about nothing in the club. You know, getting their hair done or did, however they say it. You know, a black man sitting around watching sports all day, smoking blunts and drinking some damn Shavitz Regal or whatever the hell he drinking, or popping Molly, something simple-minded. Then in the meantime, in between time, he God, or we black power, we black this, and you ain't doing a damn thing to denote that. You being weak. You acting off of that you going off a reaction and that sub-mental force that governs this planet. See, mental people, people who are mentally strong, right? People who are mentally strong, these are the people who ride above those waves, right? They ride above those waves. They're not seeking excuses. They're seeking to be the best they can be, and better than that. That's what I'm trying to breed in the state of mental. That's what we're breeding. We're not breeding reactionary people. We're breeding actionary people, thinkers, again, as we once were. The 21st century is supposed to be the time of the bright man and the bright woman. A change has taken place. We are moving forward, some of us. An evolution is taking place for some of us. Those of our people who are not part of the evolution, right, who are not interested in this, this talk is crazy talk and whatnot, you're of the black race. You're of the black race. You're of the ignorant race. You're of the reactionaries. You're of the people who want to keep the white and black dynamic going. You want to keep the ignorance going. No, we're not doing that. We are becoming a supreme people within ourselves as a mentalist people, as a Mentelian race, as a bright race, a new race of people. We are moving forward. We are thinking again. All right? We'll be right back. We're in a point right now where we're going through a mental evolution. Some of our people are receiving this message, and I plan to move this broadcast and try to boost the frequency. That's why I took it from one show a week to 3 shows a week, because I'm boosting this frequency, and I'm looking, and we're on a lookout for our people, the bright race, for that bright man and that bright woman to stand up away from the black man and the black woman, to become those supreme beings. You're supposed to be in that evolutionary track right now. Our people are supposed to be waking up as of 2013. 13 represents a new day, a new era for the rising of the bright man and the bright woman, those solar intelligent people, those mentalists, that race of Mentelians, a new society, a new race of people, a bright race, an almond race. Leave the blacks here who want to be amongst the humans. Leave the blacks here who want to still be caught up in the madness of black and white. I don't feel sad when I hear things happen to black people no more. I don't feel bad about it. And the reason why I say that, and it might sound cold and harsh and cruel, but the reason I say it is because black people don't even give a damn about what happened to black people. They don't care. Black people don't care about what happens to each other. I said when things happened, I was talking about the Atlanta child murders. Right? I was watching a documentary, and I can't watch that no more. I said, things like that happen to our people because we don't stand together. We're not a collective of people. We're not a nation. We're not a state. We're not like the Jews. We're not like the old nation of Islam, where there was a movement where the brothers and sisters lived amongst each other, and we protected each other, and we protected the family. You couldn't do that. It wouldn't have been no missing Jews or getting hurt or them getting killed. That wouldn't have happened. And all hell would have broke loose if one of their kids would have turned up missing or anything. But you can do that to a bunch of loose lambs and people who just want to be individuals. You can just pick them off one by one. You can just pick them off one by one. Right? You can pick them off one by one. Right? Yeah. Right? You can pick them off one by one. You know? You can get rid of them. You can kill them. You can chop them up and use them for experiments. Take out the carbon from their skin, extract the carbon from their skin. You can do all kind of Frankenstein experiments, sell their organs, their kidneys, their body parts. Because that's what happens with a lot of our people. A lot of our people who turn up missing, a lot of them end up in food grains. A lot of them chopped up for food. A lot of them have their kidneys and organs stolen. A lot of our own so-called black people who are demented, right? They sitting up here, and they'll do the same things the white man do. They'll chop up our people and eat our people, rape the women. You understand? But you couldn't do that amongst a group of civilized, mentally in tune people who are strong. You can't do that. You can't come amongst their community and do that because there'll be all hell to pay. You couldn't go in the Jewish community and do that. You couldn't go amongst the old nation of Islam and do that. You couldn't abduct none of their people. It'd be hell to pay. They wouldn't even try. So I said we got to stand together as a new people, a new and intelligent people, a people who have dropped the old ways, who have dropped the old philosophies and the old ways of thinking, who have dropped all the black nonsense because it hasn't worked. We saw right through that. We saw through it. The intelligent ones of our people are seeing through it right now. That's just a bunch of rhetoric. It's not about the evolution of our people. It's about a bunch of people who want to keep us in a rotation constantly back and forth with the white man, keep promoting individuality. Because I said, trust none of these Negroes out here in the so-called conscious communities or the blacks that's out here promoting individuality. We need to come together like no other people have at this point in our time. We're supposed to be coming together, but only the intelligent ones of our people are supposed to be coming together. And leave the ignorant separate. Let them be individuals. Let the intelligent ones of our people come together under one new mindset, under one new name, under one new idea, under one new goal, which is to evolve mentally. That should be it. One new flag, one new state, one new people. That's what we advocate in the state of Mentel. Go to the SOM.info, the SOM.info. We are the mentalists. MENTELLIST. Right? We are an advancing people mentally. We are an advancing people mentally. Those are our people who are not about this advancement, right? Those of our people who are not about this advancement, they need to guide about their business, right? Right? That's the people that need to go about their business. And I see Linda Jarman in there. Like I said, that's another reason why we need to separate, because we got ignorant black people that come into the chat rooms and say things and say all kind of negative things. Whether you're making personal attacks on me or what, you don't know me personally. You're making personal attacks on me. It's not about me. But see, that's what the demented people do. They don't want to see the evolution of all people take place. They don't want that promoted. So they'll make personal attacks on me. Yet they're not trying to do nothing to raise the intelligence of their people. They just running around here being whores, right? Laying up with everything, being up in hotels like Linda Jarman, who comes up in here under fake names. The Facebook nut and hustler, sending parts of her body out on Facebook, promoting naked pictures of herself on Facebook. But that's the demented mind of the black woman. She's not about the evolution. She's not about the evolution. Right? Right? She's not about the evolution. They'll always come in some way, shape, or form, and they'll try to make personal attacks and don't know you personally. Right? Don't really know you personally. They mad for whatever reason. Right? This is about the evolution of a people. It's not about me personally. It's about the evolution of a people. And if these people are not advocating the evolution of a people, they need to get the hell off their thing, because they just doing nothing but trying to poison the people. That's why separation has to take place. You look at this person, Linda Jarman, who's coming in here. She is Sadiq Bey. She has come in under all different kind of names because she's a straight-up demon. We need to get rid of these demons or get away from these demented people, right? We need to get away from these demented people who are amongst us, these black demons who come in these black conscious movements, who come in these under these, they hiding up under the Moorish thing, they hiding up under all these black African movements. They're not about the evolution of our people. They want to keep going around in circles and circles and circles, and they notice they love to hide in those movements. But the minute the cover is pulled up from over those movements and showing that they're not about the evolution of our people, they're about the revolution and constant begging and back and forth with the white man, and when no progress is being made, they get angry. They get angry. They get hot. They get hot. Yeah. Right. They're not going to, like I said, I do this because a lot of our people are amongst those movements, and they're looking for a way out. They're looking for the next level. You come to these things and you look, and you expect to get toward the next level. You expect to hear something more than what these people have been saying for the last 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I can go on and on and on. You expect to get something more out of reparations. You expect to hear more than treaties and the government and all this other stuff. That's not going to happen. Because to denote that you saying that these people are going to give you something, denotes that you trust these people. You trust these people. And only a fool would trust these people in this day and time. Right? Only a fool would trust these people in this day and time. Right? Like I said, people could take personal shots at me, but like I said, I want to hear people doing something for the evolution of our people. If ɪନିର୍ᴜ ᴇᴜᴜᴜs is wrong and you got all these things to say about me, that's fine. Personally, you don't know me. But like I said, what are you advocating for our people? Because I can understand people taking personal shots at me if you're advocating something better for our people. We advocate the mental evolution of our people. We advocate the coming together in the state of mental of our people as a new people. That's the start. That's the start. A race of thinkers, a race of evolutionary people, a race of mentally advancing people, a people who are receiving a new intelligence to move us forward. Those are the people who we are out to look for. Those are the people who we want. We want the best and the brightest. We don't want the ignorant ones of the black race. We don't want no one spouting the same old rhetoric and the rotation and the revolution anymore. We don't need to hear that anymore. We've been there. We've done that. It's time to move on. It's time to move on. Got another call coming in. 512.
Hey, what's good with you, bro?
What's going on?
Not much. How you doing, bro?
All right.
I didn't even mean to press one, man. It just accidentally pressed it. I appreciate you, messing, man. You doing good. Love what you're doing, man. You been car as you keep doing what you do, bro. Holla at your boy.
All right. Thank you, brother. All right. We got 917. All right. 917.
Yes. Hello, Nuben. This is Denzel.
Yeah, Denzel, brother Denzel. State of Mentel, brother Denzel. What's going on?
Yeah, not so much. I have a question for you. I was wondering this. You said the people that are right now, they are taking orders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now based on the ancient Egyptians, right? They were taking orders, but because I would say they disobeyed the orders that were given to them, with as far as genetic mixing and like pretty much downing their race as far as the Amun beings. Like, would you say everything is going according to a plan as far as the Amun beings, where they want us to like pretty much everything is going according to a plan? What would you say to that? Like, from the ancient Egyptians to the elite, as far as the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts are being in power right now. Like, I mean, what do you think on that?
Yeah, everything is going in order because, see, what it is with our people is that the Amun beings are ascendants. They didn't care, or they didn't really care. They didn't really. Their whole focus was the evolution of this planet and the forward thinking and the forward intelligence of this planet, and they didn't care who was bringing it in. Our people, after ancient Egypt and all these places fell, was in no position to bring forward a new intelligence to the people. We had fallen under submission and under a submental state to these people, to the white man, the rest of mankind. So we weren't in any position to move things forward. Because I said we was the first ones that was supposed to build the first government here under the Olmecs when we were the Mende people. But due to the fact that we fell out of contact and we lost our reception with our ascendants, that's when we started to fall victim or fall under the religious beliefs of mankind in a submental way. So the white man came through Freemasonry, right? And he picked up our rituals, he picked up our symbols, and he continued on. He built America off of our symbols, off of our pyramids, off of our eyes, and all this other stuff. He built that through our symbols. So he was continuing on the evolution in our place. And that's what you're seeing today. Now it's time for us, as a new people who are coming out of the black race, who are going into a state of evolution as a mentalist people, to pick up where they left off.
Okay.
Or where they will leave off at.
Okay. Everything makes sense. Now, just one more thing, and then I'm going to let you go, because I know, like, you're pressed for time. Like, one thing is that, like, would you say that the frequency is somewhat tripled compared to before? Because now, like, like, would you say it's going based on an order and a plan? So, like, would you say that the frequency is reaching the people, like the bright race, because it's like, would you say it's trying to speed up, and like as far as we as Amun beings, the intelligent beings, like it's supposed to happen where, I don't know how to put this, like, yeah, would you say that the frequency is getting stronger for our people that are out there?
Yeah, I'd say it's going to get stronger. Like I said, all it's going to do is get stronger amongst our people, because a lot of our people are already, picking up higher mental capabilities, and things like telepathy. Things like telepathy and psychometry and clairvoyance are becoming commonplace amongst our people more and more. I know for a fact that it's becoming more commonplace with me. So actually, we're going through an evolution right now where we left off at. So yeah, it's going to get stronger as our people are coming together, as our people are hearing this message and they are waking up mentally, and they're coming out of that sleep or from up under that submental state, and raising that reception to pick up that omni-mental frequency that's going through the planet right now.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you, brother.
That's coming from those advanced ones, our ascendants, the Amen beings. Our ascendants, our children, our great-great-grandchildren, those who have already made it onto the other side, who have made it into the higher realms or into the future world. Those are the ones who are sending the intelligence and the connection back to realign us or align us with their future world. They're aligning us in this day and time so that we can receive this intelligence. But for our people who are caught up, the black race who are caught up in this world and they're caught up in these things, they don't understand what's going on. It's not for them. So.
Right. You're absolutely right, brother.
All right.
Thank you. I'm going to let you get back to your broadcast. And just something for all my brothers and sisters out there, the black race, fear compels people. You have to be willing to sacrifice for something that's greater than what you have in society. And so I just wanted to shout that out to my people.
Well, a lot of people ain't got nothing in society. They ain't nothing really to sacrifice.
Yeah.
They ain't got a damn thing. They under the illusion that they got. All black people got here is they pride and they ego. They ain't got nothing else.
Something to wake up and don't be afraid to wake up. Yeah, that's my point. Yeah.
All right.
Brother,
thank you. Thank you, brother. All right. Let me answer these questions. Then we out of here. It's been a good night. It's been, pretty mellow, even with the demon Linda. You know what I mean? I'm starting to like when you call in. Like I said, I'm starting to like when you call in and whatnot because, like I said, it wouldn't be a show without you, Linda. You're crazy. So why don't so-called black conscious, Pan-African, and black power people push intelligent education in the society to young black people as a way toward freedom? Because that would require them to come from behind that slave mentality that they have of constantly going to the white man with their hand out. That would require them to be thinkers. That would require them to stop being believers in philosophies and ideologies and doctrines of white people. Because, like I said, amongst these teachings and doctrines, you can find all of their teachings and doctrines are traced back to white people, whether it's black power, whether it's religion, whether it's metaphysics, it's all traced back to white people, and they are connected to white people. Don't believe the nonsense about why they hate white people, this and that, and this, that, and the third. Paul Mooney said it best. He said, black people and white people are family because nobody hates like family. And, yeah, y'all are family, but we not part of the family. The bright race is a family unto itself. We're separate. All right. Why don't any of the so-called black movements push younger black people to become the next doctors, lawyers, engineers, scientists, dentists, etc.? Because, like I said, that would make our people free. That would make our people free. Because if you ain't got to depend on people, you become free. Right? And they don't really want to be free. They don't want to be free mentally. They don't want to be free physically. They want to constantly be locked in this revolutionary paradigm of the white man this, the black man this. They're not tired of this. We tired. We don't want to hear it no more. I've been tired. Can technical education really secure freedom for our people? Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Intelligent people who can sustain their own, a nation or a state or a group of people, yeah, they can sustain it because we ain't got to go run into people. We ain't got to go to run into doctors and dentists to sustain our well-being or feed us. We can sustain it ourselves, right? What is intelligent education? Technical things, law, medicine, architecture. The things, the things black people stay away from, the majority of our people stay away from in favor of stupid things like African studies or what is liberal arts or whatever nonsense, psychology and some other nonsense, where they get the easy degree where they can just put on their walls and they go and get a job for the white man. That's your black power people. Those are your educated black power people. They go after things like that. All right? Why don't black people go to school for intelligent educational degrees? Like I said, it requires work. And in this society, our people have been made mentally lazy. All right? They've been made mentally lazy, so they don't want to seek after or go after things like that. They don't want to chase behind degrees where work is required, where thinking it has to be required, where you have to challenge your mind. And we've been trained to be like that in this submental world, in this submental state, by these people who are giving us handouts, right? But we're not doing that in the bright race no more. We're advocating intelligence amongst our people, and we're moving forward in the name of that intelligence. So that's it. I am the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz. This has been State of Mental Radio. Join us Wednesday night for our next broadcast. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll be hot. And join us Sunday the 31st Sunday, those of you people who are not caught up in Easter, for the channeling the solar mind through the Third Eye Conference, in which I'll be speaking at. All right? So, once again, I am the intellectual Nuben Menkarayzz. This has been State of Mental Radio. Good night.
It's the Republic of Mental, rising out the black race to the white race, out the black race to the white race. It's the Republic of Mental, black race to the white race. If it's hell, and then it's hell us. They tried everything just to spell us. Fed us religion, gave us fake gods. Through all of that, we beat the odds. Now we coming together under one flag. Colors red, gold, and blue. Superman, Superwoman, that's me and you. The infinite capabilities that we can